Hi, it's Philip here from Big Phil YouTube channel, and today a couple of very interesting informations about traveling during the pandemic. So that's, I'm gonna call it Watch Before You Travel. I used to travel a lot. I used to travel around, I used to fly a lot, about 100 to and more times a year. So I'm used to really crowded airports. But now, when we flew after 18 months, for the first time in 18 months, we flew with Anya to Poznan, to my hometown in Poland. It was dead at the airport, at the Birmingham airport, because we flew from Birmingham to Poznan, and then on the return flight we flew from Poznan to Edinburgh. I was expecting actually a long queue at the security, because that was always the case. Well, very often that was the case at the Birmingham airport, and sometimes I had to wait about 15 to 30 minutes before I went through the scanning. However, this time it took about 5 minutes, so no complaints on that side. Later on, we went through the duty-free shop, and it looked deserted, almost deserted. It was like a sale on, like a shop liquidation or something like that. It was bizarre, because I remember everything lively, plenty of people, lights on, crowd, noise, everything, and that was totally a different story, 180 degrees, totally opposite. There was no crowds, barely any, well, there were lights, but it was like quite dimmed, which was really surprising for me. Nonetheless, to the point, Philip, to the point. I'm recording this video to let you know what to expect when traveling during or post-pandemic, depending on the country where you're traveling to and where on the list, on which list the car is, the country is on, which is a green list, it's an amber list, or it's a red list. What are the requirements, what do you need to buy, what do you need to book, and what do you need to remember about. We flew to Poland, and to got to Poland, you don't need to do actually anything apart of. If you're fully vaccinated, which means you have 2 doses, and the second one was 14 days prior to your departure, you are like a COVID survivor, so you should have some antigen in you. You don't need to quarantine in Poland. If you're not been vaccinated, you will need to quarantine for 10 days in Poland after the arrival. You need to fill 2 forms. The first form is a passenger location form. You can download that from airport website, you can download that from, I think it's a border control website, and I think Ryanair, because I was using Ryanair to get to Poland, and we were using with Anya Ryanair to get to Poland, they can provide some links as well. The second one is like questions about the COVID. Did you had COVID? Have you been vaccinated? Have you been in contact with person who has COVID? Or have you been exposed to COVID? So yeah, that's basically the question. So 2 forms, and it's good to print them before you fly. However, if you want to do it before you fly, and the Ryanair crew, they will hand you the form so you can fill them on flight before you land. So that's quite handy. However, I recommend to print them prior your departure, fill them, and just keep them in your suitcase or in your bag. As before the plane touches down, and the Ryanair crew will collect all the forms and they will hand it over to border control officers in Poland. When you go through the passport control, you show obviously your passport, your ID document, and then you need to show your proof of vaccination. If you've been vaccinated, or a proof of being a COVID survivor if you had COVID and now you are okay and you have antibodies in you. If you don't have antibodies in you because you're not a COVID survivor or you've not been vaccinated, you will be referred to self-isolation for 10 days, and you need to give the address, and you will be checked by the police or by some kind of agency like a health and safety agency. And pretty much that is it. Pretty straightforward. Going back to the UK is actually a quite pricey thing, because before you actually go, you need to plan how you're going to go back, and you need to think what country you're going to, and it is quite for the UK government. In recent weeks it was quite easy to move countries between green, amber and red list. So many times I've seen on the news how people had to buy expensive flights from Portugal or from, I think it was Greece, and go back to the UK before the deadline of the 10 days, very expensive, I think it's £2,250 quarantine in a hotel near the airport. So please check that, as the list might change and the change might be quite rapid, so you might need to think about some kind of plan B. When coming back to the UK, you need to do a test, or it's an antigen test or it is a PCR test. The antigen need to be certified to be valid in the UK, and that has to be done 72 to less hours prior departure. We did test PCR, and that's 290 zlotys, and that is approximately £60, more or less. And there's the antigen test as well, which is 30 quid. That's one thing. The other thing what you need to do is actually you need to buy, depending on if you're going to England or Scotland, you might need to buy 2 different separate tests. And I'm going to be talking about Scotland now, so please check websites. I'm going to link many websites underneath the video, so please check them. If there's a link which is not valid, which won't open, just let me know in the comment and I will correct that, and I will search for again for that specific information, and I'm going to link it below the video. So you need to fill a passenger location form, and that has to be done 2 days, 48 hours or less prior to departure from the country you're arriving to the UK. Even before that, you need to purchase a PCR test, a PCR test pack for yourself, which you need to do yourself 48 hours after you arrive in the UK. For Scotland, it was £68. I have no idea how much is that for England, but I will link everything underneath the video, but just below the video, so you can check it yourself, or more precise prices depending on when you watch the video. Yes, so when you fill that passenger location form on the government website, you need to put the reference number to the test you booked. The tests, they do not arrive before you travel, they arrive after you return. And in our case, we arrived on Monday evening and they tried to deliver the test on Monday morning, which was not possible because we weren't in the country. So they delivered the tests on Tuesday morning, which was fine. I will get to that situation in a second. When you're leaving, for example, we left Poland to come to the UK, where we live permanently. You need that form printed. You need, oh geez, again, sorry. Yes, you need that test to be done, the PCR or the antigen test prior to departure from Poland to the UK. It's good to print the result, and you need to have that passenger location form filled in as well, and it's good to have that printed. Because when boarding, the person who's running the boarding procedure, she or he checks your passport, your passenger location form, and your test result. If everything's okay, you're allowed to board a plane. If you have a positive test, first of all, you shouldn't be at the airport. That's one thing. Second of all, you will be denied boarding. If you don't have both forms, you will be denied boarding, I believe. So yeah, bear in mind that there's quite a few things to think about when actually going abroad. It's not like it used to be, you just buy ticket and go. Now you have to think about forms. You need to pay, print. I'm kidding. So yeah, you have to have both. And then you're allowed to board a plane, and then everything goes as normal. The only difference is when we arrived in the UK, we went through the electronic gates, which was as normal. And then flew through the channel nothing to declare, which the difference was, I used to see over there 1 custom officer, now I've seen 10, and they were like picking persons to question, so be prepared for that as well. About the test, So I've ordered a test for both of us just before we left the UK. So they arrived the next day after we came back to the UK. You do the test 48 hours after you are back in the UK. So I did it on Wednesday. And then you post those tests to the lab. The results came back on Friday afternoon. Between Monday evening when we arrived and Friday afternoon when we received the results, I've been twice to London. I've been on 5 or 6 different trains. I've been on London Tube. I've been to Southampton. I've been to many services across the UK. And who thought about that kind of thing? Obviously, we've been fully vaccinated, so we didn't have to quarantine after coming from the amber list country. Same as green one, you have to quarantine when you come back from the red list country, despite you being fully vaccinated. So I still potentially could go and spread the virus while waiting for results, because I don't work from home. I need to travel for work. So how, like, who was thinking about the idea of doing the process like this, going the process like that? I just don't know. I'm speechless in that instance for that specific subject. So I could say some stupid stuff, some controversial, but I won't, and I won't even disclose my opinion in that about this matter, because I believe you can sense what opinion I do have. So we did have tests, and the pre-departure test negative, after we arrived negative. We do have rapid tests at home, and they came back negative, so I know I can go to work and I can travel. But if people don't have them and they're not bothered and they just like don't give a, then who will check them and who will stop spreading of this? So yeah, that's another subject for another video, how this is being handled. So because I believe it's like there is a sense at some point, but then there's no sense, and then there's like a need for a profit of selling those tests. I know that 2 weeks before we went to Poland, they cost £88, and that was just extortion. 68 quid is a lot, but 88 quid, damn, excuse my French, but geez, that's a lot. And that's just like I don't know if they're trying to discourage you from traveling abroad and then book your holidays within the UK and spend money in the UK because you need to boost the economy after the COVID, or I don't know. But when you buy all that stuff, it's just like sometimes feels like it's unnecessary. But I think that the test should be done like at the airport or at the drive-through center instead of like the stuff being sent to you. That's just my idea of this, so you don't need to agree. However, if you have any questions, just pop the comment down below in the comment section, because I'm pretty sure you're gonna have some questions. You're gonna have your own observations if you traveled, and if you're thinking about travel, I think that you don't need to be worried about anything. Obviously, on board, you need to wear a face covering unless you're drinking or eating. That's something to keep in mind as well. Please share this video with your friends, with your family, or with someone who is traveling or is about to travel, as there might be some vital information for them and how to prepare, how to not get overwhelmed with all these informations, with all these forms you need to fill. So that might be quite helpful, and yeah, that might be quite helpful for them. So if you found this video helpful and interesting, give it a like. Consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, and if you have any questions, any suggestions, or any comments, just drop them in the comment section down below the video. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Cheers!